Over the weekend, PSG won the Champions League and people took to the streets to celebrate, except those celebrations were actually riots. And the videos are pretty horrifying, which we will play and go through a lot of them because it highlighted how much the culture of France, Paris, has changed. France is basically no longer France. We decide what we tolerate in our society, and we in America have female Democratic politicians ignoring feminism and bending the knee to men who do not respect women the way we do in the West. In Seattle, we had socialist Mayor Katie Wilson celebrating Eid, posing for a photo in front of a group of Muslim men, and they're literally seen laughing at her. In New York City, we had AOC giving a speech to a group of men for Eid. They spoke over her the entire time, and our New Jersey governor was wearing a hijab celebrating Eid. And then we have Jill Biden promoting her new book. So we are, unfortunately for all of us, seeing a lot of her in the media. I guess she's doubling down on the narrative that Joe Biden was mentally sound, saying she thought that he was having a stroke during the debate with Trump. That's why he performed badly. She hasn't seen him like that before or since. Yeah, okay. All that and more on DayeTime. I'm your host, Avery Day. So over the weekend, on Saturday, PSG, which is Paris Saint-Germain Football Club, won their second consecutive Champions League. They beat Arsenal in the penalty shootout. Very dramatic, big deal in Europe. I've actually been to Paris for the Champions League match a few years ago, and it was chaos. It was fun, but the city was insane. Today, the culture's changed so much. I would never go. It is way too dangerous for women, which we see because there's no women on the streets celebrating. Well, when PSG won, tens of thousands of fans flooded the streets, especially around the Champs-Élysées or near the home stadium or the Eiffel Tower, and it was supposed to be, again, a celebration. I'm going to throw in a quick example of what we in the West call a civilized celebration. And of course, the example is our favorite Poland. Lovely, closed borders, conservative Poland. Anyway, this is how Polish fans celebrate. I mean, crowds like that freak me out, but it looks fun.
I teraz klaszczemy! Nie dla nas jest porażki znak. Jedziemy!
So Dominic Tarczynski, who is the GOAT and a member of European Parliament, posted that video with the caption, "Here's how Polish fans celebrate their club's victory." Before leaving the square, they cleaned up after themselves. No one was beaten up or raped. Be like Poland. You might think unnecessary jab, he's being dramatic. No, he is not. He's actually not. Let's take a look at the videos out of Paris from the weekend. It's on fire. Why? Why are we doing that? Why are we setting cars on fire? It's not Parisian culture. This is hooligans that are really dictating society. Holding society hostage is what this is. The bottom percentile of people holding society hostage. And I wonder who could possibly be leading this culture change. No idea. We have more videos. There's a video of them shooting fireworks at police officers. Who wants to live amongst this? This is so sad. To lose control of a city like this. To men. Where are the feminists? So 57 police officers were injured and 780 people have been arrested. We have another video of, I hate watching this too. This is not Paris. Not safe for women. We really don't have to live like this. We really don't. Just so much destruction. Let's look at what the city looked like the next morning in the aftermath. What pisses me off is these are store owners. These are small business owners. These are people who worked hard and are contributing to the economy. You think they're going to want to move their business there? You think that anybody is going to want to have a business in Paris if you're in a city where the police lose control and can't protect what you've built? No. A city destroyed for what? For what? For tolerance? And I'm not saying that it's all migrants that are doing this. It's not all Muslims that are doing this. Muslims in the UAE would never. They would never. But they don't open their borders to third world Islam. They don't allow the bottom percentile of hooligans from North Africa to dictate their culture in the name of tolerance, because they understand that if they did that, they'd be committing suicide, much like Europe currently is. Elon writes, "Problems in Paris." All young men. No control over the city. Police are outnumbered. No authority. This didn't happen overnight. This was a result of 30 years of leftist policies. Yeah, un petit problème. Yes. There is a problem, a huge one. And you want to know what it is? Mass migration from Muslim majority countries into the Western world through leftist policies. Tolerance for a culture that does not tolerate the West back. Empathy for people who refuse to assimilate, tell us they refuse to assimilate, and quite frankly, refuse to be civil in society, because there's nothing civil about this celebration. It's embarrassing that there's no authority, that we don't see any women on the streets of a Western country because it's too dangerous for them. It's embarrassing that they've lost control of their capital city. And in 2025, crime in Paris broke records across categories as migrants continue to flood the country. Street crime, pickpocketing, robberies, sexual assaults linked very often, more often than not, to migrant networks. There are no-go zones where officers cannot intervene safely, and the government has lost control of the area, which, by the way, are all migrant majority areas. And do you know who suffers the most in these no-go zones? Women and children. If you're a liberal feminist in the West and you want to make a difference, the answer is not letting people into our countries that change our culture. That spreads the problem and makes it worse. They have to want to change their culture in their countries, but they don't. They want to get away with it in ours. Watch them tell us what they're doing.
Regarde, filme tout autour de toi. Il y a des Algériens, il y a des Tunisiens, il y a des Marocains, il y a des Sénégalais, il y a ce que tu veux. Marine, on est là, ma gueule. On a fait plus vite que les Allemands, on a pris Paris en 3 heures. Les Allemands, ils l'ont pris en 24 heures.
That's so sad. When I go to France, I want to be around the French. I want to be around snooty, bitchy French people who turn their nose up at me and mumble, de ricain, as Americans pass by. I want to wait in line for an extra 10 minutes because the hostess is having a smoke break right in front of us. I want to see chic Parisian women freely walking at night safely or carrying shopping bags alone without fear of theft. I love walking into a store and watching my friends who don't immediately greet with the proper greeting, bonjour, bonsoir, get corrected. I want to preserve French culture. French culture will be gone in the next few generations because they're quite literally replacing themselves. They're making the taxpayers pay for migrants to live off of welfare programs. So everything is more expensive for the natives. And they're not having as many kids because they can't afford it. Meanwhile, the migrants that they're paying for are having 4 to 5 kids each. And the natives are not. They're having 1 to 2. And it's just basic, simple math from there. It's not sustainable. There has to be remigration or the country will look like North African countries in a few generations. It's just basic math. And imagine if the races were reversed. Imagine if there was a mass effort from white Europeans to migrate into North African countries, and then they live for free off the hardworking North Africans, and then they disproportionately rape their women and children in mass. They commit crimes at least 4 times the rate of nationals, which is what they're doing in France. They ignore the laws. And if someone calls them out, they scream and cry racism and intolerance. And then they literally replace the native population because they're having more kids. The world would go to war. The world would go to war over that. And again, it's not all migrants. It's not all Muslims, but there's a clear cultural difference of what is tolerated in the West because of what we created versus what is tolerated in countries that we're mass importing people from. And we need to have an honest conversation about it, which we're not doing in America because, moving on. Feminism is out. Women's oppression is in, according to the Democrats, I guess. The socialist mayor of Seattle, Katie Wilson, posted this photo with the caption, "Honored to attend Eid celebration this week and spend time with so many wonderful community members and families. I'm grateful for the opportunity to celebrate alongside residents who help make our city vibrant, welcoming, and strong. Wishing peace, happiness, and blessings to everyone celebrating Eid." Where's the women? This is suicidal empathy in a photo. I'll tell you where the women is. Men and women are gender segregated. The women pray behind the men. Why? So men aren't distracted or tempted by women. And if you zoom into this photo, they're laughing at her. They're laughing at her. Zoom into the crowd and you see the men making fun of her. And in her speech that she gave, she's like, "Oh, it's so great seeing the families."
It is so great to see so many community members here from around Seattle and around our region, and also to see so many children here, so many families.
Where are the families? Where the fuck are the families? It's all men. Where are the feminists fighting for equality here? Nowhere to be found. Where What is she talking about? What is she talking about, the families? It's just all men. Or what about when AOC was giving her speech for Eid in New York with Mom Donnie, and she was completely ignored and disrespected by the men?
Selflessness and solidarity. And most importantly, we renew our commitment to together with devotion to our neighbors, our community, and to this country.
They're totally talking over her.
Into the darkness. Thank you once again for having me here today.
They don't care. They don't care what she has to say because she's a woman. And why would they care what she has to say? Because she is a woman. And in their culture, they don't care what women have to say. It's like, not me saying this. This is them. This is their culture. They created it, not me. You can't shoot the messenger here. And again, it's all men. There's not a woman in sight. And then I find it so rich that she covers her hair for the men. What happened to my body, my choice, AOC? Why isn't she fighting for the women who have been killed in Muslim majority countries for not properly wearing a hijab? This ideology and way of life is literally killing women across the world for improper dress. A dress code that's been set by men, and AOC embraces it and celebrates it like she's on some moral high ground of tolerance and acceptance. She's so tolerant, she's tolerating abuse and an inferior way of life. And yes, inferior, because men who beat or kill women for not wearing a hijab is an inferior culture, in my opinion. Men who tell women what they can and cannot wear is not a culture I want to invite in and tolerate. We should all be united on that. All of America should agree on that. All of the Western world should agree on that. But instead, we have liberals calling me, the messenger, the people calling it out, intolerant or racist for saying it, for pointing out the truth. There is no amount of gaslighting that can be done to convince me that this, a burqa, a hijab, and a niqab, is a woman's choice. That this is liberating for women. Nothing can be said to me to make me believe that this is what we should accept. If you're a woman blessed with freedom of choice, freedom of dress, freedom of religion in the West, and you want to celebrate this and disguise it as tolerance, you don't understand the fight and sacrifice it took to get our freedoms. You don't stand with women. You don't care about liberating women. You care about virtue signaling. And this is exactly what suicidal empathy is. Shout out to Gadzad. Read his book, Suicidal Empathy, Dying to be Kind. It's not an ad. I just think the entire Western world should be forced to read this book because it's what we're seeing happen. We're seeing misdirected empathy that prioritizes feelings, compassion, or displays of kindness, which is crazy because that's what AOC thinks she's doing, is being kind. And then I'm evil for calling it out. That's how their brain works, because it's over reason, logic, self-preservation, or thinking through long-term societal consequences that will ultimately harm the empathizer or society, because it will. Inviting this type of culture and way of life into the free world will harm women first. One of my best friends from my time in London was raised Muslim in Albania. And she always tells me, Avery, you don't understand how the culture chips away at women. Growing up, my brother, her brother, got to go outside and play on the street and she didn't. He got to go to the market and she didn't. He had all these privileges that she didn't have growing up. And as a kid, you don't understand why. You just know, you come to know your place in society. And she explains it to me that from birth, she was designed to feel small and insignificant as a woman. And it didn't matter what she wanted to do because she was a girl. So she wasn't listened to. And that's just the norm. And then when her family moved to England, they actually ended up converting, but they weren't able to beforehand out of fear of honor killings, whole nother topic, or being completely cut off from their family and friends and everyone they know, which did happen. People love to say I'm racist and hateful, or there's an unfair demonization of the Muslim community. They're under attack because of the rhetoric I help spew. No, I'm not demonizing all Muslims or migrants. I've been a migrant. When I was living in England, I embraced England and I fell in love with English culture. I didn't try to change it. I celebrated it. I want England to be made up of English people. I want France to have French people in it. I want Spain to be Spanish because that is their family history that made the country what it is. I want the people with roots and ties to their culture to be there. I don't want them replaced. Just like I want Nigeria to be made up of Nigerians, or Senegal to have the Senegalese, or Japan to have Japanese people in it. I want to celebrate and preserve what makes our cultures unique everywhere. That is true respect for a culture. Tolerance for people trying to actively change a culture through mass migration is not respecting the history or sacrifice made by previous generations or the hardworking citizens of today. It's erasing it and likely replacing it with one that's not as good. Not all cultures are equal. I don't like a culture that legalizes child marriage. I don't like a culture that doesn't celebrate femininity or oppresses women. I don't like a culture that doesn't have what we consider in the West to be basic freedoms: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of dress. We're unique in the West. We're an anomaly if you spend time studying history. And I want to preserve that instead of handing it over to people who have not fought to liberate their societies, which is what will happen in the name of tolerance. It's what the Democrats are doing. This is the road we are going down. Moving on topics. Speaking of the Democrats and tolerance, why did the Democrats tolerate Joe Biden? Why did the Democrats tolerate Joe Biden? He couldn't put together a sentence or know where he was or what day of the week it was. And they were just fine with that. They were cool with that, whatever. And now we have Jill Biden promoting her new book, View from the East Wing, which releases on June 2nd. So unfortunately, we are now seeing a lot of her in the media. Yay. In a recent interview with CBS News, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill, said she thought her husband was having a stroke during the June 2024 presidential debate with Donald Trump. Watch.
Were you horrified as you saw it unfold?
I wasn't horrified, I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that before or since. Never.
Or since?
Yes, or
You've
since.
never seen him like
never.
that?
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me to death.
Liar. Liar. Liar, liar, liar. Are we supposed to believe this? I mean, really, if you're not insulted by this blatant lie and the continuation of lying by the Democrats, you're not very smart. You can't think for yourself. Because who remembers Jill Biden after that debate trying to save face for Joe?
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the... And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
That's a projection if I have ever seen one. That's not someone who's horrified. That's someone who's engaged in a cover-up. We're supposed to believe she thought he was having a stroke and did nothing and went back on stage and said, "You did such a great job. You did great, Joe." Come on, give me a break. We have some excerpts from the new book. She says she thought Joe looked, quote, bleary beforehand, but expected him to perform well. During the debate, quote from the book, "I immediately noticed that Joe didn't look good. he didn't seem himself from the opening. She wondered if he was, quote, short-circuiting, having a stroke, or even drugged. She writes, has he been drugged? It was like watching an AI hologram, glitching. Yeah, how do you think the rest of the country felt? His entire presidency. After the debate, Joe whispered to her, quote, I really fucked up, didn't I? She replied, yes, you did. She really effed up for allowing this elder abuse to continue. But even now in the book, she says she didn't fully know what happened. She writes, quote, nothing explained what I was seeing. To this day, I still don't know what happened. Why wasn't he making any sense? It was inexplicable to me. She speculates on over-preparation, travel, illness, or possibly codeine or Ambien, but wishes that she had answers and regrets not requesting a blood test. I mean, come on, I find it so insulting that she thinks the American people are dumb enough to believe she lived with him and never saw him like that. We, the American people, did. We saw him like that. We saw him like that all the time. And to refresh your memory, here's a highlight from the debate.
We finally beat Medicare, and I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
It's so funny. It's seriously, Joe. The gig is up. We don't believe you. We will never forget the dementia shuffle on the sand. That's a personal favorite of mine. Gets me every time. We have to play it. We have to play it. It's like cue the clown music. Leader of the free world. Looks like he's trying to walk on water, but he's walking on sand. You could see his mental decline from space. And we're supposed to believe that Jill never saw it. Oh.
Mr. President! Mr. President, what are you going to say to Trump on Wednesday?
I mean, he's walking on marbles.
Talk with Trump on Wednesday.
That's elder abuse. Can't convince me that's elder abuse. We're supposed to believe that that man was capable of leading the free world. It's really shocking. I mean, there's hundreds of videos showing his mental decline. There's now, thanks to Jake Tapper's book, thousands of witnesses who said that they saw him like he was in the debate. But it's fine because Jill Biden says that she doesn't know how it happened. You've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding. I can't believe people just accepted this narrative. The greatest danger to a democracy is an uninformed electorate where legislators bow to the demands of the ignorant majority instead of governing based on the best interests of greater society. It's an idea that goes all the way back to Plato and Socrates, where they criticized democracy partly because they believed it could let uneducated or easily swayed masses make poor decisions. We're not reinventing the wheel here, what's happening to our society, because even Winston Churchill said the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. Because how do you listen to that man, Joe Biden, who is very clearly in mental decline, and trust him to run the free world? Jill did. No problem. Jill did.
Ever see signs that he was falling into cognitive decline?
No.
Truly.
No.
I mean, people were saying he wasn't the same Joe Biden.
Well, I don't think that's true. He was the essence of the same Joe Biden, but yeah, he was slowing down. He was getting older. I mean, we all observe that. When you know, it's a very intense job. I think it ages you.
What the fuck? We all saw signs. This was elder abuse. She took part in elder abuse. His administration was an embarrassment to our country. Complete and total embarrassment.
Are you worried in publishing this book that the Trump administration will come after you and your family because you've just, spoken out so much?
Am I worried about it?
Yes.
No, but they can look. Joe's attacked every day. There's by negative things that are said by this administration. So I don't think it's going to change.
But you're not worried that this is going to, precipitate an attack on your family?
I hope not.
Always the victim. Always the victim. She was also asked about why Joe Biden pardoned Hunter.
President Biden had said that he would never pardon his son.
He did.
And then he pardoned him. Did you urge the president to think again about that?
Well, Joe said in the beginning, I won't pardon Hunter, I won't pardon Hunter. And then...
and did you say...
And then the Justice Department changed. And I think that the process was not fair to Hunter.
Oh, always the victim. It wasn't just like a pardon for something specific. He was given a blanket pardon for offenses Hunter has committed or may have committed from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024. Included, but not limited to, his convictions on federal gun charges and guilty plea to tax offenses, which is a total abuse of power, nepotism at its finest. I wish Jill would just retire from the media. Why she feels the need to continue lying, it's beyond me. I don't understand. This administration was an embarrassment to our great nation. I don't want to be reminded of it every time I open social media. Just retreat. Go be happy, live your life, have your alleged affair. I don't care. I just don't want to see you and be reminded of what, when we let our country be hijacked by the Democrats. Didn't like that very much. That is what we have for you today. We will see you tomorrow.